Have you ever heard of a painting so cursed that people who owned it claimed their lives were never the same again? A painting so mysterious that fires, tragedies, and even hauntings seemed to follow it wherever it went. Today, we're diving into the chilling history of one of the most infamous works of art ever created. A carved piece that many believe carries a curse within its very canvas. This is the story of the Crying Boy painting, often called the most cursed painting in history. The tale begins in the mid-20th century, when Italian painter Giovanni Bragolin, also known by the name Bruno Amadio, created a series of portraits of crying children. He produced dozens of these works, and they became strangely popular. Cheap reproductions were mass-produced and sold throughout Europe and United States during the 1950s and 60s. Families hung them in their living rooms and bedrooms, never suspecting that this image of an innocent child's tear-streaked face would one day become associated with some of the strangest and most unsettling stories in modern folklore. At first, the paintings were nothing more than sentimental, sorrowful works of art. But as time passed, people began to notice a disturbing pattern. In homes where the Crying Boy painting hung, terrible misfortunes seemed to occur. Most famously, unexplained house fires. Beginning in the late 1970s and reaching a peak in the 1980s, newspapers in the United Kingdom reported a bizarre trend: homes destroyed by fire. Yet amid the ashes and rubble, the Crying Boy painting was found intact, often without a single scorch mark. This strange phenomenon first gained widespread attention in 1985, when The Sun, a British tabloid newspaper, published a headline that shocked readers. Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy. The article told the story of Ron and May Hall, a couple from Rotherham, South Yorkshire. Their home had burned down in a devastating fire, but when the fire brigade sifted through the ruins, they discovered one surviving object: the Crying Boy painting that hung on the couple's wall. Firefighters even claimed they had witnessed this eerie survival in multiple house fires. No matter how destructive the blaze, the painting seemed to remain untouched, as if mocking the devastation around it. After the story spread, countless readers came forward with similar experiences. Families recounted tales of tragedies, accidents, and unexplained misfortune that seemed to begin after they brought the painting into their homes. For some, it wasn't just fires. People claimed that owning the Crying Boy brought bad luck, financial ruin, illnesses, or strange disturbances within their houses. One woman even claimed that her husband died shortly after she purchased the picture. Another man said his home burned down only days after hanging the portrait on his wall. The reports multiplied so rapidly that fear began to take hold across Britain. The Sun even organized a public campaign, urging readers to send in their copies of the cursed painting. People didn't need much convincing. Hundreds of these paintings were mailed or delivered to the newspaper's offices. Eventually, the Sun staged a mass bonfire, burning the collected paintings in an attempt to lift the supposed curse. But burning the Crying Boy didn't exactly solve the mystery. If anything, it fueled more speculation. Why did so many people believe this painting was cursed? And why did it seem to survive house fires when everything else turned to ash? Some explanations were practical. Firefighters who investigated the phenomenon suggested that the paintings were printed on a special type of fire-retardant board, meaning they were less likely to burn. It wasn't magic, it was just science. A cheap varnish may have also helped protect the picture from flames. But others were not convinced. The sheer number of stories, combined with the eeriness of the untouched paintings amid blackened ruins, was enough to keep the legend alive. Then there's the darker theory. Some believe the curse has its roots in the child depicted in the painting. Legend says that the boy was an orphan in Madrid during World War II. According to this version of the story, his parents died in a fire, and wherever the child went, disaster followed. Some even claimed the boy was adopted by a painter, perhaps Bragolin himself, who soon after lost his studio in a blaze. Locals began to whisper that the boy was cursed, or even responsible for starting fires through supernatural means. Out of fear, people shunned him. In one grim tale, the child later died in a car crash, and from that point forward, his spirit was said to inhabit every copy of the painting, spreading misfortune to whoever dared to hang it in their home. Other variations of the legend suggest that Bragelin himself struck a deal with the devil to achieve fame, and that the children he painted were doomed to carry the burden of that pact forever. Though these accounts are impossible to verify, they added fuel to the fire quite literally of the crying boy's cursed reputation. Skeptics argue, of course, that this is all nothing more than mass hysteria. After all, thousands of people own reproductions of the crying boy, and not all of them experience tragedy. It's easy to imagine how urban legends spread, especially when newspapers latch on to dramatic stories. Fires happen, and coincidences are bound to occur. But what made the crying boy legend so powerful was the timing. Britain in the 1980s was dealing with high unemployment, economic hardship, and social unrest. People were looking for something to explain their misfortunes. The idea of a cursed painting provided both a scapegoat and a chilling story to share with neighbors, friends, and family. Despite skepticism, the story never truly went away. Even decades later, people still whisper about the crying boy curse. In fact, some copies of the painting can still be found in thrift shops and online marketplaces. Many buyers pick them up as curiosities, drawn by the legend and eager to test their luck. Some even boast about daring to hang the painting in their homes, challenging the curse. Others, however, won't even touch it, convinced that disaster is sure to follow. Interestingly, paranormal investigators have also weighed in over the years. Some claim the paintings emit a strange energy, while others insist that it's simply the power of suggestion at work. When people believe something is cursed, they begin to notice and connect every unfortunate event to it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. If you expect bad luck, you'll find it. And the crying boy became the perfect canvas literally for people to project their fears. Still, the legend refuses to die. Even today, stories pop up on online forums and social media about people who claim to have suffered strange misfortunes after acquiring the painting. Whether you believe it's cursed, coincidental, or simply an enduring urban myth, one thing is certain. The Crying Boy remains one of the most infamous paintings in modern history. So, is it truly cursed, or just an accident of superstition and timing? That's for you to decide. But maybe, just maybe, you should think twice before hanging a copy on your wall. After all, it's only a painting until it isn't. And that is the haunting history of the world's most cursed painting.